name is Ari Hirayama. I'm a Japanese journalist. I think my colleague contacted you.
Yes, indeed. I did receive the phone message that you will be calling, yes.
Oh, yeah. Can I talk a little bit about, can I ask you some questions about your position about Donald Trump?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I have actually declared in my speech also that I am going to support Donald Trump. The reason for that is I look at Donald Trump as the person who will deliver not only the United States of America but the entire world from the decay in political leadership. United States of America has been suffering from this decadence for years now, and Donald Trump is one person who has emerged as a new voice. He is using his own money, and I think Americans are very lucky that at this juncture of history we have somebody like Mr. Donald Trump who will emerge and probably bring a change not only in the policies and politics of the United States of America, but it will mean a big change for the entire world.
So big change if he is elected as president.
Yes, it is already the shocks of this change are being felt in Wall Street. They are already anticipating whatever upheavals will happen in the stock market. So this is already, the world is anticipating for this big change to come in American leadership. The entire democratic institutions in the USA and the media, they have tried their level best to pull Donald Trump down, but I think there is some God's force or nature's force behind this man. And I have to say this, I am a Democrat and I've always voted Democrat, but Mr. Trump is so unique and so different, and I look at it from the point of view not just as a Muslim, but as a citizen of the world. I look at it as a very positive change for the world.
Really? Wow. So you have been voted for Democrat so far?
Yes, all my years, 25 years in the United States. I'm originally from Pakistan. I have been a supporter of the Democratic Party. I have been a contributor to the funds of Democratic Party. But this big change is because we are looking at Donald Trump as the person who will be actually the Renaissance man for USA and for the world. He will be the change, the big change that we are anticipating, because there is some Godspeed behind him. He has everybody tried to pull him down. There are still people making fun, ridiculing him, making cartoons of him. The entire media is trying to pull him down, but Donald Trump is a very bright person and very resilient. So that is what I see in him.
Oh, but what do you think? He says things, controversial things about immigrant or Muslim people, and so these things, many people criticize him for that. What do you think of that?
I think Donald Trump does not mean bad either for the immigrants or for the Muslims. His statements are basically just to reflect his openness. Because of these statements, it is these statements that have made Donald Trump what Trump is today, in the sense that on the political arena, we were so much used to using political correctness and not saying the right words. Donald Trump has said he wants to build a wall, not just to stop Mexicans. He wants to build a wall because on this border, that is the border where a lot of terrorists are entering the United States of America. So he's not against Mexicans. He is not against the Muslims either. He is against the terrorists who are entering this country. And there has been, the government of the United States of America has totally failed in this regard. They are, as I compare with Mrs. Clinton and the Democrats. Mrs. Clinton, she receives millions of dollars from Saudis, and these are millions of dollars of Saudi money that is coming into the American political system. The Saudis are sponsoring the elections and have been the major players in America's elections in the past. The Arab money has been the major source of funding Party A and Party B, and they are the ones who control the media in the United States. So that is actually what the criticism which Donald Trump is facing is coming from the media that is in the hands of the Saudis. So Saudi wealth is and the notion of the Saudi control, that is going to come to an end, because Saudis have been playing this card of terrorism and counter-terrorism in order to stay in power. So that is what the world is not understanding. And pretty soon, in the next few months, Donald Trump, he's a lone fighter, but he is fighting for the cause basically to bring peace to the world. He does not mean he's a builder. So this is a person who is saying that the millions of and billions of dollars which United States spent on war in Afghanistan and in Iraq could have been used in building and construction, and he has that is what his outlook is. So the world is not going to be more prone to war, but more prone to peace in the hands of Donald Trump's leadership.
I see. So the criticism against Trump is not fair.
It is extremely unfair because basically the status quo, those who want to protect the status quo, there are millions of dollars invested by various corporations in bringing a leadership of their choice. President Obama came with a lot of positive vision, but his hands were tied down because Obama, unfortunately, had to play the role of a puppet in the hands of these puppeteers who bring him into power. So I see in Donald Trump, because he is using his own money, he's not asking for a penny from any of his supporters. He is spending his own money. So America will, for the first time in almost 50 plus years, be able to come out of this rut of being controlled by the rich people.
I see. So what are you doing to support Trump?
On my personal level, I am doing, I am not an activist in that sense that I would do. I would, in fact, if Mr. Trump comes to Bakersfield, which is my city, I will welcome him. There are local Muslims in this city, in Bakersfield and in Los Angeles, who are my followers. I will take them to his rally, and we will there are lots of Muslims in the United States of America who understand that there is a problem with the Islam and the version of Saudi Islam that has been dominant in the world of Islam, that has nothing to do with the teachings of the Prophet, and that Islam needs to come to an end, and that it will usher in a new era for Muslims and a new era of liberty for Islam. So Muslims will show up. So that is what I will do for him once he shows up in my town, Bakersfield, and I'm looking forward to that.
I see. So you want him to come to your hometown?
Yeah, he will come to hometown. He has still to make the trips to California. He was here in California for a couple of speeches in Sacramento and up north, but he still has to do the movement in California, because California is essentially a state that may not vote in favor of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will have to do a lot of work in California, but still there are lots of months, and people are being able to see through the game that is being played by unfortunately by the Saudis. The Saudis are controlling the Democratic Party, and the Saudi money is what's controlling the Democrats, in my opinion.
I see. And what has been the response of your fellow Muslims?
My fellow Muslims are very positive. The ones who have, I delivered this speech and it was posted on Facebook, and I am looking at it. Probably more than 80,000 people worldwide have seen this speech, which is extremely long, and it's like 1.5 hours long. But I have tried to bring sense to the Muslims, to tell them that Trump is not your enemy. We Muslims have been our own worst enemies in the past, not being able to see through the game that the Saudis have been playing in the name of religion, befooling all of us for centuries, and we need to come out of that. So that is what my speech is, and people are listening.
Oh, so 80,000 people listen to your speech.
Yes, it is on Facebook, and it's more than 80,000 that have heard my speech. In Pakistan, it's in English. English is not the Pakistani language. It's in English, and but 80,000 plus have heard my speech in support of Donald Trump in the United States and Pakistan. These are 80,000 Muslims.
Ah. So I thought that Muslims hate Trump.
Yes, you are right. Muslims have, Muslims are, they want to get rid of terrorism, and at the same time Muslims will support all the forces that sponsor terrorism. Muslims have no direction. Muslims have not had any leadership, and I, as a leader of a political party in Pakistan, Jannat Pakistan Party, I have vowed to provide that leadership of vision to the people of the Islamic world, and to lead them and to guide them for the future, because we have been misled by governments and by puppet presidents all over the 50 plus countries in the world, 50 plus Muslim countries in the world. So we need a new leadership. Jannat Pakistan Party was raised by me from grassroots through my speeches on Shalimar Radio. So a new leadership and a new vision is bound to emerge in the Muslim world, and I see Donald Trump as being a big support in the coming years for that.
Oh, okay. So you don't have any criticism from Islam, Muslims?
I have received criticism. Muslims have said that Trump is against the Muslims, but I have been, and my supporters have been writing to them, back to them, to asking them to wake up, that it is not Donald Trump that has been the enemies of Muslims. It has been Muslims themselves, and Muslims have been playing in the hands of various political forces of the world, who have been using religion and Islamic emotions in order to use them and use their sentiments and their lives. And it is high time that the Muslims come out of this and emerge as with an identity of their own on the international political arena, because our politicians and our leaders, talk of Saudi leaders or talk of leaders in the Iran or any other place, these leaders do not represent Muslims anywhere. Muslims have failed to gain any voice or representation. So Muslims are learning this lesson the hard way, and social media has been a big opportunity for the Muslims to for opening their minds, and that is the social media which I use.
But the other day, Trump said that United States should prevent from Muslims coming to the United States, which provoked criticism by Obama. Or what do you think of that?
Yes, I think President Obama is again trying to be the best. As somebody said about President Obama, that instead of playing the role of the President of the United States, he's playing the role of Hillary Clinton's campaigner-in-chief, which is actually American people are able to see that President Obama is trying his best boast that, he's against Muslims, and he's talking of banning the coming of Muslims to the United States. The basic point is that Mr. Trump has said something very rational. You should not, and we should screen terrorists for coming into this country, and there should be a screening process for them, and that is all that he has said. He is not asking the Muslims to leave the country. He's not going to put the Muslims in camps or anything. All he's asking is that we need to understand who are good Muslims and who are pro-terrorist Muslims, and we need to make sure that pro-terrorist Muslims should not come to the United States. Any country in the world should do that, and that is what Trump is clearly saying. Trump is saying in a more black and white fashion what Mr. Obama has failed to say.
I see. Oh, and so you have voted for Obama?
Yes, we did vote for Obama both the times.
Oh, really? How is your feeling? You were...
I feel that we did not have any Donald Trump on the scene at that time when Mr. Obama was being elected. Mr. Obama came as the champion of hope and transparency. Mr. Obama failed to give real hope and real transparency. We have Democrats, unfortunately, in a country which is founded on free speech. The Democratic Party has been the strongest opponent of free speech, as I see. They have been trying to censure free speech. They have been trying to control the media in the worst possible manner, and all this control that we see today in America, I think these are all desperate attempts on the part of the Democrats because they are trying to bring everybody is who has a political interest and has political interest, means a personal interest in politics. They do not like Donald Trump. They want the status quo to be maintained. Donald Trump is going to be the eventual change which America is waiting for and the world is waiting for. And unfortunately, I think Mr. Trump is not very good at delivering himself because he is being bombarded by various questions all the time. And I can imagine the degree of harassment that he is undergoing. But at the same time, Mr. Trump is doing a very good job to reach out to the common voter, the man in the streets. 40% of Americans don't even go to vote on the polling day. So that voter is now awakened, and that person, that individual will rise and will try to reclaim America and take back America to what America is supposed to be and what America is all about.
I see. And you were in Jannat Pakistan Party before.
The Jannat Pakistan Party was founded by me in 2011. This is a new political party in Pakistan. We raised this party to bring that essential change in Pakistan, which is the goal, and we are working towards that. Jannat Pakistan Party, let me say, is one party which is banned from the media in Pakistan, the general media, and we have several media channels. They will not promote Jannat Pakistan Party because we do represent views on Islam that are definitely different from the views of favored by the government and favored by the Saudi-run media. So that is one of the reasons Jannat Pakistan Party has not been on the forefront of projections on media in Pakistan. But on social media, Jannat Pakistan Party has been extremely active. Just on Valentine's Day, I delivered a small speech, and 1 million viewers were there to see that speech, which was accompanied by some love songs, because we want Muslims to be able to rise and enjoy what we call we want the Muslims to celebrate love and Valentine's Day, and there were 1 million Muslims on social media that did see that speech of mine delivered in February on Valentine's Day. So we are active on through social media, which is a very powerful media, and that is the status of Jannat Pakistan Party at this time. I plan to go back to Pakistan next year to lead the people there.
Oh, so and you are the founder?
I am the founder of Jannat Pakistan Party, yes.
Okay. And you are American citizen?
Yes, I am an American citizen, and I'm also a citizen of Pakistan. We are permitted to have dual nationality under the American law, so that is what we have as our citizenship status.
I see. So since when you got citizenship in the United States?
Oh, I have been in my citizenship status for, I would say, I was an American citizen, heart and soul, even before I came to America. I loved the liberal ideas of America and what Americanism is about, and the ideas of liberty, equality. They were rooted deep into my mind by my mother. My aunt visited America in 1950s, so she was one of the first Muslim women students to come to the United States in the 50s.
I see, really. Wow. So, so you think that now the Muslims face a big challenge right now in the United States, like in the political environment?
No, Muslims are awakening, and I do not think that Muslims are undergoing any kind of harassment over here. Mr. Trump is very open. I think the fear element in the Muslims is being generated by the Democrats, and that is the sad part. Democrats are trying to engender that fear element, and that Democrats need to restrain them in this political mission, because the Republicans are very open-hearted. Muslims have lived under the Republican government of George Bush, and they were not harassed over here. And I assure you, it's not. It's the desperate Democrats at this time that are engendering fear in the Muslims.
Even after September 11th, you didn't feel any threat or...
Absolutely not. You know, as a Muslim living in the United States, there were probably some Muslims who were pro-terrorists, and of course they had every reason to fear America and to live in fear in the United States, because America was shaken and awakened after 9/11. But personally speaking, all Muslims, I have 4 children in the United States. My son is a police officer in Los Angeles Police Department. My daughter is a lawyer and a writer also. My other children one of them is a medical student and all. None of us has faced any discrimination or fear of any kind. America is so open, and we have been so much welcomed over here. Even after September 11th, we had to explain. Nobody asked us to explain our positions, because American people are far above any kind of discrimination. In general, they do not discriminate. Yes, if there is somebody who is trying to provoke anti-American sentiment, of course, that's a reason for them to rebut that. But other than that, we have never encountered anything.
I see. And how about what happened in Lawrence? The shooter said that he was Muslim, or he was devoted to the radicals. Still
we do not know much. The information is coming. We do not know the background of that young person. But one thing is definite. In his own words, he admitted to being a member and somebody who had pledged allegiance to ISIS. So that should be the end of the story. He was living in the United States, but he was a traitor to the United States, and he hated whatever the ideals are of the United States, and was scouting this place in order to carry out his mission. and that is how the terrorist mind works. And so that is the story of the Orlando terrorist, as much as I know so far. And America has emerged beautifully out of it. America is more united today than before it was before the Orlando tragedy. And anytime anything like that happens, it brings American people even more together.
I see. So you think that you cannot not permit or allow Muslims or use Muslims' name in doing active terrorism? They are not correct.
Well, in this act of terrorism is being done by a person. Muslims in the United States are of two kinds. One is the progressive Muslim who has amalgamated himself and become an American in his mind, in his heart, and in his soul. These are Muslims like me. There are other Muslims who go to the Islamic centers very frequently, and they are being bombarded with hate and sermons of hate, and they are being indoctrinated hate. So these Islamic centers in the United States, those Muslims who are more what you call radical or exposed to radicalism, they are the ones who pose a danger, and they are the ones whose children could act as being recruited for ISIS. So these are two types of Muslims in the world. One who are progressive, who are who want the world to progress, who have become a part of the human race, who look at themselves as citizens of the world and citizens of the United States, and who are very loyal to the United States. But there are other Muslims who are verbally loyal to the United States, but in their heart they still are supporters of ISIS. So, and it is this second type of Muslims that need to, wake up and need to open their eyes and see the realities.
I see. So Donald Trump is saying that what he's saying is to prevent these radicals.
Yes, he is going to be very proactive. Trump government is going to be more proactive in preventing radical Islam in the United States. I see Donald Trump coming up with more policies and procedures that will be adopted by various religious institutions in the United States of America. At the moment, there are no rules and regulations governing patriotism or hate speech against the very country they live in. So new rules and regulations, I hope, will come up. Mullahs have been coming from all over the world to various Islamic centers in the United States, and it has been a free-for-all. They have been preaching intense hatred in concealed words. So that will be stopped. These people have been coming, delivering sermons against the United States and talking against the laws of the United States, talking of Sharia law, and they have had a free-for-all, and they have been indoctrinating the ideology of ISIS. So under Donald Trump's leadership, none of that is going to happen, and the world will be a better place because Donald Trump's leadership does not mean any hypocrisy of any kind. There will be no such thing as any kind of political correctness under his leadership. They will call a spade, and that is what Donald Trump is about.
I see. So the progressive Muslims like you in the United States, they would not suffer or face any challenge under...
they have nothing to fear. They should not fear at all, and because the only people that need to fear are the people who live in the United States and whose loyalties are elsewhere. They have every reason to fear, and they should fear because their loyalties belong somewhere else. They should go back to their countries to whom they are loyal to, and that is a fundamental rule that would be applicable in any country country of the world. If you are disloyal to this country, go back and go back to your own country of origin. And that is fundamental. A pledge of allegiance is a pledge of allegiance made a solemn vow by the people who became American citizens. So if they are violating their vow, that is treason against themselves, first of all, and it is a treason against the United States.
I see. So is there any event you are preparing for to support Trump?
Yes, I do plan to hold in the next month a local meeting and also a meeting in Los Angeles titled Muslims for Trump, where I will bring Muslims together, and I hope Mr. Trump is able to come over there, but if not, I will deliver speeches explaining Islam and the progressive nature of Islam, which is totally different from the Saudi version of Islam that is being preached. You know, in Saudi Arabia, poor women, they cannot even drive cars. A woman cannot even, it's the worst abuse, a country where the worst kind of human abuse perpetrates. Human beings are, immigrants over there are treated as slaves. They cannot even own property. They cannot even own a car under their name. Those immigrants who are working in Saudi Arabia, and I have worked in Saudi Arabia, and I have seen that extreme degree of apartheid and discrimination that Saudi Arabia is all about. So basically, Hillary Clinton and all those individuals, they should feel ashamed of taking donations from such resources. And we are going to hold meetings in Los Angeles. We are going to bring Muslims together and wanting them to understand, and we are going to do some activism for the Muslims in California, in Sacramento, in San Francisco, and in Los Angeles, major cities. We will be doing that, and personally I will be doing my share of whatever I can contribute, because I'm doing this not for sake of Mr. Trump, but for sake of the cause and the fundamental principles that America stands about. Under Mr. Obama's leadership, what has flourished is Islamic centers. These Islamic centers, these Saudi Wahhabi centers, they have flourished. Centers that preach the same degree of hatred and discrimination against women, fleeing from which they immigrated to the United States. That version of Islam, the Islam that had nothing to do with the teachings of Quran or the Prophet, but it's a Saudi version of Islam that has flourished. So that is what Muslims need to be awakened to and educated about.
I see. Do you know when the meeting will be in LA, Los Angeles?
I do not have a date at this time. I have a gentleman whom I have made in charge of finding a venue for that meeting, and he is visiting Pakistan presently. He will come back and he will arrange for that.
I see. So how can I know when will be?
We usually advertise and paste on Facebook our information, but now that we have the number for Asahi, give me a contact number, and we will definitely give you information as to when this meeting is, and your reporters can come and cover that meeting.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. I'd like to.
Yes, and could you give me the name of your newspaper? Asahi is one of the leading newspapers in Japan at this time. I think one of the top newspapers with the largest circulation there. What is your good name, please? I couldn't get it, please. Say.
Okay, Asahi Shimbun. The Asahi Shimbun.
No, I know the name of the newspaper. Your newspaper is so old, and it's known to me from years. I know this newspaper very well. I needed to know your name, please.
Okay, sure. Ari, A-R-I, Hirayama.
Hirayama.
Yes, I am a correspondent in LA, and I'm bureau chief in Los Angeles bureau.
Oh, that is a great honor, Ms. Hirayama, to talk to you, and we would love to stay in touch.